And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. The scattering of the Israelites, Deuteronomy 28:64 states, And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other. This scattering signifies a divine punishment for the Israelites' disobedience, indicating a widespread dispersion across the globe. This physical scattering of the Israelites from their homeland is a direct result of their failure to uphold the covenant with God. It symbolizes not only a loss of their geographical and political center, but also a dispersion of their cultural and religious unity. Serving other gods. The verse continues with a warning, And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. This interpretation typically focuses on the literal and historical aspect of the curse. The Israelites, in foreign lands, would be compelled to adopt the worship practices of their captors, which included idols made from materials like wood and stone. The modern application of this verse to the worship of money is an allegorical or symbolic interpretation. In this view, wood could be seen as representing paper money, which is indeed derived from trees. This interpretation suggests that just as the ancient Israelites were led to worship foreign gods made of wood and stone, modern descendants of the Israelites are ensnared by the worship of money. From Babylon to Timbuktu, a history of the ancient black races, including the black Hebrews. By Rudolph R. Windsor on page 83 reads, In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. The Roman period, spanning from the 1st century BCE to the 1st century CE, was a pivotal era in the history of the Judeans, marked by significant events that drastically altered their socio-political and religious landscape. The Roman conquest of Judea, culminating in the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE by General Titus, and the Bar Kokhba revolt from 132 to 135 CE, were critical events that not only reshaped Judean society, but also led to a profound and far-reaching scattering of the Judean population. The Roman conquest began a phase of direct imperial control over Judea. This period was characterized by increasing tensions between the Judeans and the Roman authorities, largely due to religious and cultural differences, as well as heavy taxation and political oppression. The Judeans' strong adherence to their monotheistic faith and their resistance to Roman paganism often put them at odds with the Roman rulers, leading to social unrest and rebellious uprisings. This event was followed by the Bar Kokhba revolt, led by Simon Bar Kokhba, which further intensified the conflict between the Judeans and the Romans. The revolt initially achieved some successes, but ultimately it was brutally crushed by the Romans. The aftermath was devastating. Jerusalem was razed and the survivors were sold into slavery, executed, or fled. The combined effects of these events resulted in the widespread dispersion of the Judean population. This scattering was both a forced migration, due to enslavement and escape from persecution, and a voluntary movement in search of safer and more prosperous lives. The School of the Lost Tribes will upload an extensive breakdown on the sons of Noah and the nations they begot. For now, let it be known that Noah's son Ham is the progenitor of the African races. Ham, the youngest of Noah's 3 sons, had 4 sons: Cush, Mizraim, also known as Egypt, Put, and Canaan. During the transatlantic slavery period, melanated ethnicities from the continent of Africa were captured and placed in cargo ships from the 1600s to the 1800s. The cargo of people consisted of a mixture of Israelites and African tribes who were captured and mixed together. Not all slaves were Israelites. A large number of individuals from diverse African tribes were also part of this tragic history. Africans are not Israelites, and Israelites are not Africans. Every face in the photo collage outside the golden picture frame is an African Hamite. The golden picture frame represents the Israelites. Africans are beautiful and exotic tribes of Ham, but they are not the children of Jacob. No disparagement on Africans. The Bible is only concerned with the scattered lost tribes of Israel. Hamites are not Semites. African tribes are not Israelite tribes. In an evocative ancient scene, we witness the historical journey of the Israelites as they make a dramatic escape into the interior of Africa, seeking refuge from relentless persecution. This poignant imagery brings to life their arduous passage through vast, untamed landscapes, a vivid testament to their resilience and determination. Clad in the garb of their heritage, these Israelites are seen carrying the weight of their belongings, and more importantly, the responsibility of their families, as they traverse the rugged, uncharted terrains of Africa. The backdrop is a striking canvas of natural beauty and harsh reality, towering mountains and dense forests that speak of a land untouched by time, yet fraught with the challenges of the unknown. In the faces of these travelers, there is a palpable blend of weariness and resolve. Their eyes, while reflecting the fatigue of a long journey, also burn with the hope of establishing new kingdoms, new communities where they might thrive once more. What stands out in this scene is not just the physical journey, but the spiritual and cultural odyssey that these people embark upon. Far removed from their origins, the Israelites face the daunting task of preserving their customs and beliefs in a land vastly different from their own. The absence of teachers or guides in this new world underscores their isolation, highlighting the struggle to maintain their identity in a land so far from home. This image captures more than a moment in time. It encapsulates the enduring spirit of a people determined to rebuild and retain their cultural identity against all odds. The location of the lost tribes, which were transported on cargo slave ships, is extensive. We will revisit this topic in more detail in a later class. However, for the sake of visual understanding, we will reveal the location in the Western Hemisphere. Brazil. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. Cuba. I will scatter them among nations that neither they nor their ancestors have known, and I will pursue them with the sword until I have made an end of them. Haiti. I swore to them in the wilderness that I would scatter them among the nations and disperse them through the countries, because they had not obeyed my laws, but had rejected my decrees, and desecrated my Sabbaths, and their eyes lusted after their parents' idols. Jamaica. So they were scattered because there was no shepherd, and when they were scattered they became food for all the wild animals. My sheep wandered over all the mountains, and on every high hill. They were scattered over the whole earth, and no one searched or looked for them. Barbados. St. Kitts. Trinidad, remember the instruction you gave your servant Moses, saying, "If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations." Guadeloupe, Martinique, the Bahamas, Grenada, Saint Lucia, the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, the whole United States. Remember the instruction you gave your servant Moses, saying, "If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations." Canada is part of British North America. They will fall by the sword and will be taken as prisoners to all the nations. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Mexico is part of Spanish America. I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations, where they were strangers. The land they left behind them was so desolate that no one traveled through it. This is how they made the pleasant land desolate. Central America is part of Spanish America. South America is part of Spanish America, French America, Dutch colonies, Portuguese America. Louisiana is part of French America. Suriname is part of Dutch colonies. Guyana partially as part of Dutch colonies. Antigua and Barbuda as part of British and French territories in the Lesser Antilles. St. Vincent and the Grenadines as part of British and French territories in the Lesser Antilles. United States Virgin Islands, formerly Danish West Indies. The Most High made it very clear that the Israelites will be found in every land and every nation. Due to their scattering, the Israelites will come in every shade of color. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations, and kindreds, and people, and tongues, stood before the throne, and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands. The reason the Israelites became cursed and were sent into captivity was due to their disobedience, leading to punishment through a generational curse imposed by God. Let's review the sin. Idolatry. Worshipping other gods and creating idols was a primary sin, repeatedly condemned throughout the Old Testament. Child sacrifice. One of the most abhorrent practices in the eyes of the biblical texts was child sacrifice, particularly the sacrifice of children to the deity Molech through fire. This was seen as a gross violation of God's commandments and a profound moral corruption. Such practices were strongly condemned and were considered to be among the gravest sins that provoked God's wrath. Breaking the Sabbath. Not observing the Sabbath as a holy day of rest was seen as a direct violation of God's command. Injustice and oppression, mistreating the poor, widows, orphans, and strangers, and engaging in unjust practices were serious transgressions. Immorality, engaging in immoral acts such as adultery, sexual immorality, and other forms of moral corruption, was a cause for divine displeasure. Bloodshed and violence, engaging in unjust violence and shedding innocent blood, were considered grave sins. Unfaithfulness to the covenant. Breaking the covenant made with God at Mount Sinai was a fundamental betrayal. Corruption and bribery, corruption among leaders, and accepting bribes to pervert justice were condemned. False prophecy. Listening to false prophets who led the people away from God was a significant issue. Pride and arrogance. Exhibiting pride and failing to acknowledge God's sovereignty was a recurring theme of sin. Neglecting the temple and holy practices, neglecting the temple's proper maintenance and the observance of sacred rituals was seen as a sign of disrespect to God.
Now, let's go through this again. Why do you wish to sail west?
To open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less.
Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land. In the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land. But they took this counsel amongst themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen, and go forth into a further country, where never mankind dwelt. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. And they entered the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely, of a year and a half. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely, of a year and a half. and the same region is called Arsareth. Arsareth, Newfound Land. The scattering and captivity of the Israelites as described in the Bible. Assyrian captivity, 8th century BCE. This scattering occurred when the Assyrian Empire conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. In 722 BCE, the Assyrians, led by King Sargon II, captured Samaria, capital of the northern kingdom, and deported many Israelites to various regions within the Assyrian Empire. Babylonian exile, 6th century BCE. After the fall of the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire rose to power. In 586 BCE, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon destroyed Jerusalem and the First Temple. The Judeans were taken captive and exiled to Babylon, marking a significant period of Israelite history. Persian period, 5th to 4th century BCE. Following the fall of Babylon to the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great in 539 BCE, the Jews were allowed to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the temple. However, not all of the Israelites returned, and many remained in various parts of the Persian Empire, leading to a dispersed Judean population. Greek and Hellenistic periods. 4th and 2nd century BCE. The conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE and the subsequent Hellenistic rule led to further dispersal of Judean populations. Judeans' Jews spread through the Hellenistic world, leading to significant Israelites communities in Egypt, notably Alexandria, Asia Minor, and other areas. The Roman period, 1st century BCE, 1st century CE. The Roman conquest of Judea and the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE by the Roman general Titus during the First Jewish-Roman War led to another significant scattering. The destruction of Jerusalem and the Bar Kokhba revolt in 132-135 BCE further dispersed the Judeans' population throughout the Roman Empire and the entire planet. The 12-tribe chart should be understood as not a complete chart. The 12-tribe chart is not complete. Its purpose is to serve as a key to unlocking the vision of the lost tribes of the Israelites that need to wake up to their true identity. It guides the children of Israel to spark interest in the calling from the Most High for answers to their oppressive conditions.